Berlin's Charlottenburg district, December 2010. The next long night for someone who's been behind bars for more than 6 years. For murdering his own sister.
I was happy with myself. Because I finally acted on the decision I'd made a long time ago.
Ayhan Sürücü shot his sister Hatun in the head 3 times. An honor killing, not least because she had a German boyfriend. Ayhan's older brother Mutlu is free. He allegedly obtained the murder weapon, and there's still an international arrest warrant out on him.
According to Islam, fornication is a crime. It can't be tolerated.
Hatun among her family. The Sürücüs had been living in Berlin for 35 years when she was murdered, a family torn by 2 cultures. Tea for guests, just like the Turkish tradition demands of a good host. Ayhan Sürücü, a murderer with manners. It's the first time he's been willing to talk about his actions since he was imprisoned. Talk about why he picked up a gun and why he couldn't accept his sister's lifestyle.
In my opinion, she was very permissive and very open in how she interacted with men. There were several relationships, and then there was the nightlife. Those things caused me to do it.
He mainly has bad memories of his sister, and they still weigh on his mind, he says. Just like the memories of the evening of the 7th of February 2005. What happened at this bus stop in Berlin's Tempelhof district was later described by the judge as a cold-blooded execution. 23-year-old Hatun accompanied her brother to the bus. She had no idea he was armed when she told him he should keep out of her life and stick to his own problems.
Then she came out with this sentence, which went something like, "I'll sleep with whoever I like. That's none of your business." I just didn't think. I switched off.
Nicht mehr nachgedacht. Ich habe ausgeschaltet und
Can a murder save a family's honor? Born and bred in Germany, why did a young man become a murderer? And what has become of him and his family since the killing? Kreuzberg, Cottbusser Tor. This area of Berlin is where Ayhan Sürücü and his sister Hatun grew up with 7 further siblings, 11 people in 4 rooms. When visitors came, the men and women were in separate rooms. The women wore headscarves. The unmarried women in particular had to be protected from the glances of male strangers, because maintaining the family honour is a main priority in their value system. Ayhan learned that as a young boy.
Behind this term honor was always the term woman in brackets. It was about my mother and my sister and my wife. Women can't be this way. Women mustn't behave that way.
Sie darf nicht so sein, sie darf nicht dies machen, sie darf nicht jenes machen.
Hatun initially stuck to the rules. At her parents' request, she even married her cousin at 16 and had a son. When the marriage failed, her parents took her back in, under one condition. Hatun was to lead a withdrawn life and help her mother. But she wanted to be free and soon couldn't stand it at home anymore. She moved into a mother and child shelter, took off her headscarf, caught up on her schooling and trained to become an electrician. Youth welfare worker Zabina Shishel supported this path. What Hatun needed even more than financial help, she remembers, was moral support.
She detached herself from a set path and started to lead her own life. That life had its set of constraints, be that her schooling or her training, but she came to terms with that and saw her opportunities and said, I want to do that and I want to choose for myself. The love of her son gave her the necessary strength. That's something she stressed often.
Like some of her siblings, Hatun became German. She brought her German boyfriend to her naturalization celebration. An affront, because a German passport by no means meant German freedoms for the Sürücüs. First the divorce and then a non-Muslim boyfriend. Hatun became a double burden for her family. Especially her father suffered, and brother Ayhan was forced to look on. He wanted that his parents got their honor back. Does that mean his parents, or at least his father, wanted the same thing?
I suspected as much.
Das war auch so und ich bin damals davon ausgegangen, dass
I assumed they'd approve. But in retrospect, I realized that I was very wrong.
Die das gutheißen würden, aber im Nachhinein habe ich dann bemerkt, dass ich mich sehr schwer getäuscht habe.
Ayhan was sentenced to 9 years and 3 months in prison. An honor killing for his now deceased father, but not at his request. To this day, Ayhan Sürücü has taken the entire blame. Nobody incited him or supported him. Not even his brothers Mutlu and Alparslan, for whom there are still international arrest warrants. Is that the truth? Was it ever discussed in the family that Hatun had to die?
Also ich habe davon nichts mitbekommen.
No.
Falls es so etwas gegeben
At least I didn't know about it if it was.
Also ich habe da nicht mitbekommen von seinem Gespräch.
Does he think it's possible?
So wie ich
The way I see my family, I don't think so.
But there was a lot of frustration about his sister in the family, wasn't there?
Nicht bei allen.
Not from everyone.
Did he act alone, or was it a family decision? That was the central question in the trial at Berlin Moabit Criminal Court in autumn 2005. Ayhan Sürücü declared, I killed my sister without anyone's help. Because of insufficient evidence, his 2 elder brothers were acquitted. To this day, the prosecution believes Mutlu obtained the weapon and Alparslan stood guard near the crime scene. There's a witness who claims exactly that. Melek A., Ayhan's girlfriend at the time. She heavily incriminated the Sürücü brothers in court. The prosecution and police did everything they could to protect their witness. armoured limousines, a bulletproof vest, bodyguards. Melek A got security level 1. While giving evidence, Melek A was pressurised by the Sürücü brothers and other family members, her lawyer remembers.
They all tried to unsettle her. They ridiculed her and insulted her. They screamed at her.
Melek A has been in hiding since the killing. She's been given a new identity somewhere in Europe. To this day, she fears for her life.
She knows she's still in danger. It's hanging over her like the sword of Damocles. She knows if she's discovered, then she'll be killed. That's what she believes, and I think that's accurate.
After months, we managed to get in touch with Melek A. She decided to talk to us. For security reasons, we didn't have cameras rolling during this conversation. We've reenacted the scene.
They were all in on it. I'm 100% certain. Alparslan told me. Ayhan said that Mutlu got the gun and got the confirmation in a mosque that killing Hatun was permitted.
It was only on the morning after Hatun's death that Melek A found out that her boyfriend was a murderer. She met Ayhan in this internet cafe, his place of work. His brother Alparslan joined them. They got into the underground together. It's a trip Melek will never forget.
When the three of us were in the underground, Alparslan said to me, "Melek, Ayhan did it out of conviction." Alparslan kept talking at me. "Do you see the people here? Killing them isn't a sin because they're infidels." I was really shocked. He said other things too. He said to Ayhan, "I told you to shoot her in the head only once." How did he know that?
When Melek A went to the police with this information, the Sürücü brothers were arrested. They denied any involvement. The only witness for the prosecution was in danger, the investigators said. She never returned home, here to Kreuzberg. Her mother decided to accompany Melek into the witness protection program. She left her sons and her husband forever. We've met her too. She still can't understand that Mutlu and Alparslan were acquitted, despite Melek's statements. What does she feel when she thinks of the Sürücüs?
I feel a huge amount of hatred because they've turned our lives upside down. We have to live in constant fear. I could lose my daughter at any time. This hatred will never go as long as they're free. As long as they haven't paid for what they've done, we won't be at peace. They belong in prison.
In summer 2007, Germany's highest criminal court revoked the acquittal, but there was no new trial. Alparslan and Mutlu had already left Germany. Allegedly, they fled to Istanbul. They didn't want to face a new trial in Germany. We managed to get in touch. One of them is willing to talk to us.
Herr Sürücü? Ja, hallo, hier ist Matthias Dahls und Jo Goll vom ARD-Fernsehen.
Mutlu Sürücü feels safe in Istanbul. He's given up his German passport and Turkey doesn't extradite its citizens. Just like with the Sürücüs in Berlin, The women stay behind closed doors here when there are visitors. There are memories of his German past in the glass cabinet.
I won this trophy playing football. I was in school at the time.
Even though Berlin-born Mutlu will never be allowed to return to his German home or any other EU country because of the international arrest warrant, he feels like a free man here in Istanbul.
Yeah.
You're free when you reject idolatry and pray to Allah and worship Him. Then you're free, even if you're in prison.
Dann ist man ein freier Mensch, auch wenn man im Gefängnis ist.
For Ayhan, his brother Mutlu was the religious role model in the family. Allah is merciful, he says, but he didn't feel any mercy for his younger sister, Hatun. He broke off contact with her early on and rejected her from his life. When he met her on a bus by chance one day, he publicly slapped her in the face. Did he hate Hatun, if he's honest?
Yeah.
Yes, I definitely felt hatred.
Why? What did she do wrong?
Der Lebenswandel.
Her moral choices. It started with the way she dressed, and there were other things. Why did she change? Why did she want to dress up like that and go out that way? So that boys look and flirt with you. Everybody knows that.
He speaks fluent German, but he rejects the German value system. Despite having graduated from high school, completing a semester at university and doing his basic military service with the German army. It was only there that Mutlu Sürücü became a devout Muslim and spent his evenings reading the Quran. Was it his idea that his sister had to die? Did he get the murder weapon?
No.
Mutlu, a father of 2 children, says his brother Ayhan acted wrongly by shooting his sister. Islam prohibits people from taking justice into their own hands, but fornication's wrong too. If Hatun had lived in an Islamic country, she should have been punished.
If 4 reliable witnesses were to see that, and she was sentenced in an Islamic state, she'd be sentenced to death.
How?
By stoning.
Does he think it's justified that a woman who's committed fornication should be stoned?
I accept the Islamic laws. I accept what Allah has prescribed.
Das, was Allah mir vorgeschrieben hat, das akzeptiere ich.
This was Hatun's best friend, Gülsa. She'll never see Hatun again and still asks herself, how can a brother kill his own sister?
It really, really hurts. I don't know what to do. She's buried in the earth. I stand in front of her and can talk, but I don't get an answer.
Gülsa is also of Kurdish descent and a single mother. She too lives separated from her husband. Nevertheless, her family has always supported her. Family honour? Hatun's murder has nothing to do with that, she says. She was there when Hatun was threatened and insulted by some of her brothers. This went on for months.
You slut, you whore, I'd kill you. You'll see, you have no right to be out on the street here.
Hatun's German boyfriend couldn't cope with the pressure. He left her. Because she didn't feel safe anymore in her own flat, Gülsar took her in, and her son. For weeks, the two and their children lived together in cramped conditions.
We had to hide. We couldn't go out. We couldn't do anything because we lived with this fear that the brothers would do something. That terror was immense.
When she didn't see a way out anymore, Hatun reported one of her two brothers to the police. She told them about the insults and threats and learned that there was nothing the police could do for her. Helpless, she sat down and wrote to Youth Welfare, telling them about how scared she was of her own family. I couldn't go out on the street anymore. It was the second cry for help, and the last. Nobody intervened. Maybe in part because German officials believed honor killings occur in Turkey, but not right here in Germany.
It gives me goosebumps. I was affected, stunned, speechless. It's just not on my radar. This kind of crime just doesn't cross my mind. That's why it's still so unbelievable to me.
2 months after our first visit with Mutlu, we're back in Istanbul, in the Kurdish district of Ümreyi, in the Asian part of the city. This time, we want to meet a woman from the Sürücü family, Ayhan's younger sister, Songül. We had to go via Mutlu to get to her. He agreed to the meeting even though she's not allowed to talk to male strangers. If a man doesn't want to marry a woman, he's not allowed to talk to her either?
It depends.
Normally
it's not allowed. But it's okay when you're going shopping or you're seeing a doctor, because then it's necessary.
Songül Sürücü lives with her brother Mutlu because she couldn't bear life in Berlin anymore after her sister was murdered. Now she helps out in the house. She has no school qualifications or job training. Does she have an idea about the future? A wish?
I want to get married and start a family one day.
Will Mutlu help with that?
Yes, I'm sure.
Living like her murdered sister is unthinkable for Songül. She has accepted the strict rules of her family. How does she judge what Ayhan has done?
That was a very big mistake. I hope he regrets it all.
Is she angry with him?
No, I don't know.
Ayhan Sürücü became a murderer. But what gave him the idea that killing his sister could save his family's honor? We're delving into his past. Although he grew up in Berlin, his childhood had little to do with Germany. How much contact did he have with Germans as a boy?
Gar nicht.
None at all.
Also überhaupt nicht.
None in school nor in my free time.
Noch in der Freizeit, ich hatte eigentlich In mein Leben noch nie.
I've never had a German friend in my life.
Und
I think I met my first German friend in prison.
später im Knast kennengelernt.
A childhood between two cultures, not German and not Turkish. Ayhan Sürücü went to school here at the Eberhard Klein Secondary School in Kreuzberg. The school that made headlines as the first to have not a single German child. The headmaster still remembers Ayhan well.
I think he signalled to the girls that it wasn't okay not to wear a headscarf.
Now in prison, Ayhan Sürücü is responsible for the laundry. Previously, it was the women who did the housework in his family. Ayhan was in charge at home. He was the only man in the house. The elder brothers had moved out, and his father spent months at a time in Istanbul. Ayhan Sürücü told his sisters what they were and weren't allowed to do. He even went to their parent-teacher meetings because his parents spoke almost no German. What role did he play, especially for his younger sisters?
Ansprechpartner,
A friend and older brother.
Freund, älterer Bruder.
A father?
Yes, effectively.
Schon, ja.
An adolescent who wanted to be in charge but who, obeying tradition, had to be too, as the only man in the house. Ayhan Sürücü felt in charge of maintaining the family honour. At the same time, he was overwhelmed with this responsibility. Ayhan Sürücü grew up in this courtyard in Kreuzberg, an environment where there was practically no German life. An environment where there's talk as soon as a woman in the family isn't behaving the way tradition prescribes. Ayhan's friends also saw that Hatun started going against the strict rules from an early age.
Imagine you have a sister in a headscarf, everything's good, just the way you want it. Suddenly she's a completely different person. It's a big shock. It would be a shock for me too, if I'm honest.
A world of strong men. Those who don't make sure they're preserving the family honour are considered weak and don't have any honour themselves. The fact that Hatun left her arranged marriage and soon had a new boyfriend and moved out from home put Ayhan under pressure in his neighbourhood.
She was out and about. She wore her hair down. It's not a reason, but it's a very different life. She also got together with a guy shortly after her marriage. It's strange, isn't it, to get together with someone else so quickly? Strange for the family too.
Ayhan and his friends, a life strictly in adherence to the customs and traditions of their Turkish home, taken over from the parents without question, a radical understanding of honour in the middle of Berlin, in the middle of Germany, where they all grow up together.
It's in our blood. We can't just change because we're living in Germany. We can't just integrate like that. I don't understand that at all. It's not meant badly. We have to adapt, but you have to keep some things from your culture and your religion. We have to respect you, and you have to respect us likewise.
Does he feel German?
Nein.
No.
And instead?
I feel like a Turkish citizen of Kurdish descent.
Kurdische Abstammung.
He was born in Germany.
That's irrelevant.
Spielt keine Rolle.
He grew up here and spent his whole life here.
Ja, das
Yes, but that's irrelevant.
Hatun didn't just feel German, She was German too, and yet she wasn't able or willing to renounce her Turkish roots entirely. Despite the difficulties, she kept seeking out her family. In the weeks before her death, she started visiting her mother and sisters again regularly. But her brother Ayhan only permitted contact with the family if she adhered to his rules and stopped living like a German.
At the time, I didn't want her to spend so much time in our house. I didn't want her to spend any time there. I didn't want her to be a negative role model for her sisters.
An
18-year-old who saw his position of power within his family under threat because his eldest sister refused to do what he, the would-be head of the family, said. He felt his honour had been violated, so much so that he bought a gun and fired it, his own personal decision. And that's how Ayhan portrays the events to this day. But anyone who hears his brother Mutlu talking understands that this concept of honour was instilled in him. "1,300 kilometres east of Istanbul lies the eastern Anatolian province of Erzurum. It was this place that Ayhan's parents left for Berlin in the 70s. The Sürücüs were poor shepherds, the villagers tell us. We want to know with what values they grew up here and what role family honour still plays. We're accompanied by Giyasettin Sayan, a politician from Berlin of Kurdish descent. Sayan grew up in this region and has often mediated in family disputes. He prevented an honour killing in his own family years ago. It saddens him to see how his fellow countrymen live here.
They just about manage to keep afloat and make a living. They've got their animals and some fields to cultivate, but they don't have money to build or fix homes. That's why they live here. People live in these buildings.
Hanim Sürücü was born in this house. She's Ayhan and Hatun's mother. To this day, she comes to visit for a few weeks every year. She tells her relatives, we're told, about her life in Germany and how nice it is there. Hatun's death is a talking point to this day. The men tell us that family honour is very important. When women violate this honour, that cannot just be accepted. Nevertheless, there's never been an honour killing in the village.
When a woman makes a mistake, their families don't generally forgive it. But not all families are the same, and not all places are the same. It's not like it used to be. People used to be blinkered. Today, people think in a more progressive way. Things like that don't happen that often anymore.
As long as we're in the village, the women stay in their homes. But if we're invited in, we're allowed to talk to them. We ask her what she thinks of Ayhan's crime.
It doesn't matter what sin she commits. You mustn't kill a woman.
The opinions of the distant relatives are comparatively enlightened in such a backward village. Could it be that the people here are even a bit further in this regard than the people in Berlin?
Yes, that could be because the people have undergone a development and have experienced and seen progress in the surrounding area. In the nearby villages and towns, while the people in Berlin have conserved everything from their past and live by that.
We also want to talk to the close relatives of the Sürücü family. One of the villagers shows us the way. They live a few kilometers outside of the village. We're meeting Adam Altay. He's one of the brothers of Ayhan's mother, making him an uncle of the killer. He knew Hatun as a little girl. What does he think about her death? About the fact that his nephew shot her.
If it's the way I heard it, then I think it's right. If your sister is married and she doesn't get on with her husband anymore, then she comes home and gets separated. But she didn't come home. She got together with someone else straight away, and then she was shot.
The women have to stay behind closed doors during our visit, just as was the case with Mutlu Sürücü in Istanbul, and just as was the case with the Sürücüs in Berlin. The fate of the Sürücü family started here in eastern Anatolia more than 30 years ago. A woman isn't allowed to live like Hatun. It's dishonorable. Many in the Sürücü family agree with that to this day. Ayhan accepted that. It's a conviction that turned him into a murderer.
Also ich war damals genauso eingestellt.
I was completely of the opinion that it was wrong, and I think I've made the biggest mistake of my life. But I wasn't able to learn anything different.
Aber ich konnte halt auch nicht was anderes lernen. Ich konnte auch
I wasn't able to talk to people about it and hear about other experiences.
einholen.
Ayhan's family. His sister murdered, he himself a murderer with more than 6.5 years in prison already. 2 brothers have fled. The family whose honor he wanted to save has been destroyed forever.
Was ich den jungen Leuten, also mit Migrationshintergrund,
If I had to advise young people with a migrant background who are in a similar situation as I was, I'd say they should have the courage to talk about it openly and to open up to the family and people on the outside.
Ayhan Sürücü has understood that a lot went wrong in his family. He's showing remorse, but how far does it go? Murdered Hatun Sürücü. In her battle for a self-determined life, she's considered by many as a role model today. Can he admire her now for the fact that she chose her own path?
Schon damals zu leben und ihren Weg zu gehen.
Admire her? I don't know.
Weiß ich nicht.
Didn't he want to be like her sometimes?
Nein, also...
No.
Es ist schwierig gegenüber einem Menschen
It's difficult to have feelings or admiration for someone
was auch immer,
when I know
wenn man weiß, ich
I killed that person.
umgebracht. Das ist schwierig für mich.
The penitence of an honor killer. The authorities don't think it's plausible. That's what it says in his extradition papers. Ayhan Sürücü will have to leave Germany after his prison sentence. He'll be taken straight to the airport. He wants to fly to Istanbul. His brother Mutlu will help him start a new life. Ayhan could be the only one to pay for Hatun's murder. Whether he acted alone or on a family decision, it's certain that many family members have some responsibility in Hatun's death. Even Mutlu agrees with that.
I always say that I'm to blame, and our father has some blame, as do the other members of the family. It's not right that he takes the whole blame himself. We all hold our share.
Jeder hat einen Anteil.
Does he pray for Hatun sometimes?
Of course, I pray for her too.
Bete ich auch für sie.
Can he tell us what he prays?
Dass Allah ihr vergibt.
That Allah forgives her for her sins.
Dass Allah ihr vergibt. Wegen der Sünden und so weiter. Und anmachen und so weiter.